Sir, I need a ride.
Why don't you go to the neighbor on the other side of you? Because maybe they'll give you.
She had light hair. She was about 20.
What about the man? Eyes, hair, anything?
I didn't really get a good look at his face.
We'll call you.
The first thing I want to ask is, I hate to compare to other movies, but I mean, I want to compare to a previous movie that you did. Obviously, the Clovehitch Killer was kind of, it's different, but in a way, we see it through the eyes of a kind of an unreliable narrator, if you will. We don't know kind of how much of what what we see is what's actually going on, which is very much the case especially in the case of kind of this guy who goes through these mental illness problems. Now we're not sure. Did he see this? Did we not see that? I'm quite sure. Was that the reason why you gravitated towards Sean Farley's script for this one, or was there another specific reason why this was kind of, you felt this was the next film for you to direct?
I guess, yeah, there is a connection with the protagonist, who is just kind of alone in their pursuit of truth, and having people around them who doubt them, or maybe doubting themselves. I think there's something appealing about that to me. And it's also it's kind of like a father figure story as well, relationship between a father and son. And yeah, so those two connections, I guess I'm just drawn to those themes.
Yeah. Would you say there's anything kind of personally that kind of intrigued you to tell those kind of stories about people who should be listened to, that aren't getting listened to? Is that something that maybe you felt in the industry as well, in the film industry at all?
Well, about 10 years ago, I became a vegan.
All right.
And I was I did a lot of research and videos, looked at videos, like undercover videos of what goes on at animal farms. And it was so radicalizing for me. It just seemed like a nightmare dystopia, what animals have to go through before they end up on our plate. And I thought, man, if people knew about this, they would do something about it. And so I started a YouTube channel, and I felt very motivated to communicate and to expose this as best I could. And I was met with a lot of like apathy from close friends and family. And that was a difficult experience for me, but that's one way I can relate to the protagonist in this movie. It's kind of a feeling of like, don't you see? And not really being listened to. But I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm not a vegan myself, but my sister and her daughter are both vegans as well. And I kind of, when you said that the family were kind of, there was a lot of apathy there, I can kind of understand it in a way, because I completely understand why people are vegan. I'm not there myself, but I can understand. I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, that's okay if they're vegan, but as long as they don't kind of tell me what I should be eating as well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I'm not as hardcore about it now. I kind of came to terms with, what was more valuable to me. Like my relationships with my family was more valuable to me than like them agreeing with me. So I learned to compartmentalize and to stay positive, and I'm not even strictly vegan anymore. Right. But I think a lot of people can relate probably to that experience, maybe politically. I think there's people on both sides of the political spectrum who probably feel like they're seeing things that nobody else is seeing. Like on the left, it'd be like, can you believe they're sending this guy to a gulag in El Salvador? And on the right, it's like, can you believe they're just letting people in across the border who are part of like terrorist gangs? Just living in separate realities, and but both like firmly believing that theirs is the truth.
Yeah, I was curious you say that. See, I wasn't going to go down this way, but now that you mentioned kind of that you felt that you wanted your veganism to be heard, on the other side of the spectrum, this film kind of feels very much like the police system sees itself as kind of infallible and thinks that things don't fall through the cracks. Was that something that you really kind of had a chip on your shoulder that you wanted to kind of to create a sharp a sharp commentary in the movie about that specific side of policing?
I know I can understand where the police are coming from in this movie. Simon has a history of hallucinations and public disturbances. So if you've got a lot of stuff on your plate as a police officer, I can understand why this would be lower priority. I tried not to come down one way or the other on that issue. I think that Ed has aspirations for some kind of law and order career that never really worked out, and he's maybe more of like a traditional American type. He's got an American flag out front, and he sort of has like a John Wayne cowboy sensibility internally, the way that he sees himself. And I love him as much as I love Simon, like they're both just human beings to me. And
Mhm.
so I didn't have anything to say really about the police,
Yeah,
I don't guess. It's kind of a common trope that the police ignore you.
yeah.
And um, I'm writing another one right now, a serial killer thing, and I'm just trying to avoid that whole thing. It's like it's too easy in movies for I like competent police in movies,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if the police were competent in this movie, it wouldn't work. So yeah, I guess that's kind of why they feel infallible,
Yeah.
but they don't work in this film. Yeah,
Well, they just didn't have much to go on. He didn't get details of the man's face, and the license plate was registered to a vehicle in another state. So, yeah, they could have done the amount of work that Ed and Simon did together. Um, but I don't know. Yeah.
hmm but yeah, I mean, what I love so much about this movie is the fact that you're able to kind of navigate between this kind of serious thriller buddy cop movie, which kind of it goes down this kind of the mystery, the investigation, but then also kind of really captures mental health beautifully. I don't know how
Um.
it's kind of like there's almost like a horror tropes in there when we kind of see what he sees through his eyes. Now, what do you see through what Simon Three sees through his eyes? Sorry, but at the same time, we can kind of there's some organic kind of levity and comedy that comes from his mental illness. I mean, it's really, really well
mm.
navigated and so brilliantly balanced. Was that something that you really kind of felt yourself second guessing, or was that
Oh
initially
yeah.
in your own script as well?
Yeah, 100% in the script, and a lot of credit goes to Sean Farley who wrote this. It's his first produced screenplay. He wrote it a long time ago, around 2012, I think, and it was attached to another director at some point. It came to me in January of 2022. I fell in love with it. I've read Sean's other things, and he's a very talented writer, a hidden gem, and I hope to keep working with him before he gets snatched up. But he has a family member who suffers from mental illness, and so he drew from that. And then I was very concerned about not being condescending and being
So
accurate, and I didn't want to offend anybody, but at the same time, I think that it is fertile territory, and it lends itself to cinematic language.
very much so, yeah, mate. Like I said, it almost felt like a horror movie in places. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
especially
yeah.
the kind of first scene
And
that
that,
we really see through his eyes. Yeah.
yeah, that was an element that it slowed down there for a second. Can you hear me and see me okay?
No, I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine. Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Okay, great, great, great. Are you in, where are you?
A long way. I'm all the way in Spain right now. Yeah.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Um, I wanted to, I was drawn to that element in terms of just like the visual possibilities, but I was concerned about how it would affect things tonally, because it's like the opening scene, he's having a hallucination of a naked old man sitting across from him,
Yeah.
and I hope it works.
No, I felt it was very respected. I mean, yeah, I suffered a bit of mental health myself, but I felt it was it was very respectful, but at the same time was able to draw kind of levity from the situation.
Yeah,
I mean, even in the trailer itself, there's not a spoiler. It's like they talk about the working girls and kind of like
yeah,
just that
yeah.
misunderstanding just works really well. And it's not offensive in any way to mental health. I don't think. No, I think it works really, really well.
Oh, good. Yeah, I did a lot of research on it and reading firsthand accounts of people who had experienced schizophrenia and experienced voices. The way I found I found a way in by thinking about how we all have an internal voice. You know, we all deal with this is something that Eastern spirituality deals with. It's like quieting that voice
Yeah,
that's
so
always
that
like thinking
rumination, all yeah.
regrets and criticism. And in the mind of a schizophrenic, from what I understand, it's just personified and it might be multiplied. And so it's a universal experience. And
No, definitely.
somebody who has schizophrenia, like there's a whole person inside of them that's aware of what's going on, and they're a person with an illness, you know, and not defined by their illness. And I think that's what Simon and Ed clicked about. That's what Simon really responded to with Ed is like Ed treated him like a person. And
Yeah.
treating somebody like a person means you can kind of make fun of them.
Mhm. That's what I love. This the journey that I mean, Ed. You say he treats him like a person, but at the beginning, he doesn't want to know anything about him. So I think
Yeah.
that must have been real. That must have been really difficult for you to navigate, to kind of create, because that's what a lot of people do. They see a schizophrenic on the other side of the road, and they'll get as far away they can. But the fact that Ed kind of came around and not only just became his friend, but also helped him to solve this crime. Man, that must have been really difficult, but it worked so well in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, he does come around to having a genuine curiosity about what is he going through. And it's very sweet.
I'm
The
quite curious.
relationship was very appealing.
I'm quite curious what kind of conversations you had with Jeffrey Dean Morgan about kind of the way you wanted him to come around to Simon's character, because that's kind of that's a really difficult thing. Not just the way that someone would not want anything to do with this guy and then come around to him and kind of empathize with him completely.
Yeah, we wanted it to feel earned at the end, and so we had an hour-long conversation on Zoom before we met in person, and you know, just established a personal relationship as we started to talk about the character. And we didn't have any time for rehearsal. And fortunately, these guys are just pros and they know what they're doing. They're really good at what they do. And we kind of felt it out together, the three of us, from day one of the shoot. We only shot for 18 days. And the first few days, it was sort of kind of like trial and error. And I had the benefit of those guys trusted me, and I trusted them to do their thing. And there were just some key moments I felt that where it kind of came together. I think when Jeffrey was playing the poker game by himself and when he loses all of his money, the way that Jeff reacted, it felt very Ed-like to me. Like it was kind of like a sad, pathetic thing. And I just made sure with the actors, if I noticed something like that, I just make sure to tell them. I say that felt like on point to me. You know, let's put a pin in that and keep moving in that direction. And for the most part, I just try to get out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Wait, it's cutting off a little bit now. Oh, there
Check
we go.
one,
It's okay.
two.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, it just
Yeah.
blinked a little bit there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I'm so talking Jeffrey. Well, talking about both of them. Um, they both got very specific looks as well that kind of really fit in with their personas. And
Yeah.
I felt like you really worked very, very hard to give them very specific looks as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Right. When I brought on costume designer Rachel C. Wilson, and I just told her I want them to have an iconic silhouette. You know, this is a movie about two characters, and I want them to feel like an iconic duo. And she brought in a bunch of options from thrift, and we settled on this corduroy jacket for Ed and these cowboy boots that were very uncomfortable for Jeffrey. And for Simon, it was like a jacket from the '90s, kind of like a green blue thing, and that gave us a lot of options. I mean, when you put characters in clothes like that, they can start to. When you put actors in those clothes, they can start to inhabit the character more instinctively.
Yeah, informed,
Um,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, and then we just let Jack's hair go wild, and we talked for a while about whether we should shave his stubble. and ultimately came down on leaving him kind of like scruffy. And Jeffrey Dean, we wanted to have his hair more slicked back because it's about like the pretense of he's putting on a character. He's Ed Dearman. He's like the superstar security guard at the university, and so and sort of like letting that they both end up in t-shirts, and so it's kind of like breaking them down emotionally and visually over the course of the movie until they're just like people and they're pals.
Mm-hmm. But they give me the wrap up. I got one more question. So I mean, just to finish off, obviously you've got this one that you're promoting right now, but you mentioned that you are writing something now. What would you like to do next? Because like I said, there's a lot of, you can feel, especially in kind of the moments with the kind of, you can see through Simon's eyes, there's a lot of kind of like a horror aspect to horror tropes in those kind of scenes. Will we see a really kind of hardcore horror movie from you anytime soon? You would?
Maybe. I would love to do a horror
Because I know
movie,
you're a big fan of Evil Dead, for example. Evil Dead 2 from you. Yeah, I think your father used to bring home these kind of crazy
that's right.
horror movies.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I'm just I like horror. I like tension. I like suspense. But everything I do tends to be kind of funny. Even the Clovehitch Killer had like a really dry humor to it. And but there's so much shared DNA between horror and comedy about tension and release. And so I'm always going to be doing that kind of rhythm. That's what I'm interested in right now is, I mean, with Clovehitch, I really wanted to create something that was like as tense as possible using unconventional means. And this one was like a little bit more like, this is like a little bit more of a warm handshake of a movie. It's like much more low key, relaxed and friendly and like feel good at the end. And the one that I'm writing now, it's like, again, it's very tense, but it's like more of a romance. So maybe I'll just like find a way to explore a number of genres through suspense. I do have an idea. I do have some ideas that are more straight horror, and I'm just gonna keep adding to the stack. I want to keep making movies. I want to up my frequency of making movies and not have such a long time between
keep things
this one and the
interesting
next
for
one.
yourself.
Yeah. But right now, I feel very grateful just to have the opportunity to work with these people and to be talking to you and to have a movie coming out. So it's all good. It's all good. Everything after this is the icing on top.
No, absolutely. Like I said, man, this is fantastic. I love that it's one of the best films I've seen so far this year. So I can't wait for people to see it.
Thanks, Howard. I really appreciate you taking the time to check it out.
I appreciate you taking the time. Have the best of the release. I wish you the best of luck with the release, and I hope to speak to you again sometime soon.
Likewise.
What do we do? Just knock on the door?
Yeah, we start with that. All this for us? Color me flattered.